Hi guys, Subhash here from dsf.my, and this is the Omoda C9 by Jaecoo. So I think by now most people in Malaysia have seen a couple of Jaecoos, J7s rolling around in the streets. They're very popular because they bring a lot of premium design elements and equipment at a very affordable or reasonable price, around 150,000. So this is the next step, and it's a little bit confusing because we know there's a Cherry Omoda 5, E5 and a C5, which they just call the Omoda 5. But now there's also a Jaecoo Omoda C9. So what's happening? Well, from what we can tell, there's Cherry over here with the Tigo and the Omoda 5. And there's two separate premium brands which Cherry wants to start up. So you got Cherry here, and then you get O and J, so Omoda and Jaecoo. So in other markets, they've already started to take the Omoda 5 and put it under this O and J brand. But I think in Malaysia, it'll be a bit slower than that. So what they'll do is they start off with the Jaecoo J7, and then they'll put the C9 under that O and J sub-brand. And then later on, maybe they'll move the Omoda 5 in. We don't know. But for now, what we have is this, the C9, which is the flagship model for Jaecoo and Omoda. And if you think about it, this is probably the flagship for Cherry because this is their premium sub-brand and they want to throw everything they got at it. And what we have is a very impressive looking vehicle. Unlike the Jaecoo models, the Omoda models have a more sleek and more curvaceous design language, I would say, where the Jaecoo goes for more of a kind of Land Rover, Range Rover look where it's very angular and tough looking. These cars are more sleek, got a coupe profile to it. But yeah, I thought I'd just give you a little bit of a preview since we have kind of estimated pricing around 185 to 195,000 if I'm not mistaken. That's for the two-wheel drive or the all-wheel drive model. So I'll start from the back of this Omoda C9. What you have is, of course, power tailgate. And of course, you should note the finish on this car is a very nice satin finish, which you normally only get on very high-end products. So it's just about tall enough for someone of my height, 6 foot. But what's interesting is, yes, the boot is really huge. But on top of that, you get a full-sized 20-inch spare. That's a Michelin tire right there. It's not like a space saver, cheap, smaller tire. They just shove a full-size spare in there. So you're really getting a lot for what you're paying for. And less than 200,000 for a car of this size is pretty incredible. This is a D-segment size SUV. So I'll take you through the interior, a bit of the back seat and the front seat, and of course the exterior from the front. So now let's go check out the back seats. So very interesting, you got pop-up door handles. Even though this is not an electric car, they're really going for that very high-end feel. Inside the car, the back seats have seat controls over here, but this thing is fixed. You only get recline adjustment for the backrest. You can see a lot of gloss plastic, your standard Sony branded speakers from Cherry, now under Jaecoo. A bit more gloss over here, and the door handle opens up this way. I remember seeing this in some of the Chinese Omoda cars. We're finally getting it here. And someone of my size sitting at the back here, what are my first impressions? Well, you get a nice panoramic sunroof. It's a little bit narrower than most panoramic sunroofs. Most panoramic sunroofs end around here, but this one is a bit narrower, I think, because you've got that sloped look, that coupe profile, and the sides also slope in a bit like that. So to achieve that design, I think this thing is a little bit narrower than you would expect. But seating position, oh, it's excellent. I just felt my head touch the pillow back here. It's so soft. It's got that Tigo 8 Pro feel to it, where it's just super duper soft at the headrest. Now, I didn't get to drive this car. I was a little bit late to the test drive, but the videographer behind me, Muhammad Daniel, he got to drive it, and he says the car is super duper comfortable. Over bumps, it's not harsh at all. It's got continuous damping, so the suspension is excellent, very good. From his initial impressions, it's one of those Luxo barges where you can ferry around people in absolute comfort. And when I was looking at the figures, of course, I'll talk more about that in the front, but it looks very impressive. Now, one more thing to note, I guess, in the back here is you've got your aircon vents on the door pillar, which is something that the premium boys have only been doing for about 10 years or so. Now you got it over here for less than 200,000. You got a center air vent here, but you have to share. Maybe it's for the person in the center, I guess. And you got some hatchback controls, which, because the car is, I think, kind of in an off mode, so you don't really get any readout here. I'm wondering if you have a readout here at all. Possibly not, because this thing doesn't move at all. So you just got fan controls back here. It's not one of those where you have a digital kind of temperature gauge here. It's just fan controls and seat heating, it looks like. Doesn't look like seat ventilation, but we'll find out more when the full spec is revealed with the launch. You got a center armrest over here, and honestly, sitting back here, it feels larger than a CRV. I'm actually test driving a CRV right now. It feels about a size bigger than that, and I think the pricing is just right for that because the CRV is a bit cheaper than this. But yeah, this feels huge. Now let's go check out the front seats. Okay, this interior is unlike anything I've seen from Chery or Jaecoo. Of course, there are some familiar elements like the dual 12.3-inch display that, of course, we've seen before. But just the general shape of it and the size is actually very impressive. Now, sitting like I would normally sit in a car, the only issues I have are my knee still hits this part here because it goes with that whole wide center tunnel design that Mercedes-Benz popularized last time, and it's very high up and it still touches my knee over here. So that's the only thing that bothers me a little bit. Of course, you have a lot of plastic in here, there, and all that, but they've done enough to make it look very premium. You've got the wood grain look to it, and of course, I don't think any luxury car today has real what you call materials like wood and leather, and all of them have moved towards synthetic materials or fake wood. Of course, one or two holdouts still have a little bit of wood trim. Yeah, so I don't really expect anything more from the luxury segment compared to this. This is actually way up there, and of course, you have a very dynamic look to it. You've got ambient lighting with very interesting shapes all around, and of course, you can change the colors and all that. 50-watt wireless charger up here. It looks like there's two trays, but only one of them has ventilation, so I think only one of them is the wireless charger. Besides that, this is what the key looks like. Kind of hefty, gloss black all throughout. You've got the remote engine start over here. And I think the biggest highlight feature, because almost all of these Chinese vehicles, even if they're not premium brands, they give you a lot of features. So they have to give you a little bit extra in this vehicle, and the little bit extra that they gave here is something called air fragrance. So this thing in here carries your fragrances that go into the cabin. And the only car I've seen with this fragrance thing, you can see the little shape of a perfume bottle. The only car I've seen with a fragrance that is sold in Malaysia, I think, was the Mercedes Maybach S-Class. That's the only one that I've test driven with this fragrance thing. So it'll be interesting to see how much the refills cost. Maybe they are cheaper than you expect. But yeah, this cabin feels very wide, very big. Just a little bit of an ergonomic issue here. And the only other typical Chery thing that I see is the center mirror here is very ultra wide. It's like kind of zoomed in, you know. They've got that concave shape to it. Yeah, so that's the only two things that bother me, is that and that. Besides that, it really feels like a luxury flagship SUV. Can't wait for the final details of this product, man. It really looks like it might give the premium segment even more of a headache. Now let's go head up and check out the exterior of the front of the car. So under the hood is a 2-liter 4-cylinder, very highly strung petrol engine. Now I think this could be related to the engine that's in the Tiggo 8 Pro. Over here it's got over 250 horsepower and 400 Newton meters of torque, which is a lot. Definitely more than enough to move a car of this weight. And it's available with an 8-speed automatic transmission. And of course, you can choose between 2-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. So those are the two variants that are coming out. The 2-wheel drive only has 3 drive modes, whereas the all-wheel drive has 7 drive modes. So that's quite similar to what's available on the Jaecoo J7. But yeah, this engine, a lot of power, and apparently very quiet despite having so much power. Exterior colors, you got 3 very conservative color choices. There's a grey, there's a white, and I think a black. So very conservative, but the design is not conservative. So I think they balanced it out. You know, you got a very mold breaking design with the Omoda C9, but the color choices are very kind of safe, and I think that's a good strategy. Besides that, the pricing, like I said, 2-wheel drive is 185,000, and all-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive is 195,000. Well, 195,000. So below 200,000 is the estimated price. I think this car is going to give a lot of headache to the premium segment, but also to everything that is non-premium, all those in-between brands that are trying to take away some sales from Proton, still staying around the 200,000 mark. They'll have to go up against this. And this car is supposed to launch at the end of the year, so December 2024. We shall see, and we'll be keeping you updated with more details. I'm Subhash from dsf.my. Thanks for watching.